Inside these 120,000 lines of code is the life work of Terry A. Davis. It's an operating system said to be God's official temple. Its name is TempleOS. The entire operating system fits into less than 25 megabytes. Within the ISO is its own compiler, a 2D and 3D graphics library, bundled programs, and a kernel, all written within his own programming language he calls Holy C. And he did it all on his own, like building a skyscraper with your own bare hands. An impressive feat for sure, but perhaps even more impressive when you realize Terry did all of this under the haze of schizophrenia. Within its 16-color 640 by 480 display, Terry shows us a way to speak to God. He calls it a modern way of speaking in tongues. If you press the key, it gives you some random text and a Bible verse. Terry is an interesting man. He started off by working at Ticketmaster, building operating systems. But he left it all behind in the pursuit of building his own 3D printing company in the 1990s, which unfortunately all came to a stop when his house burned down. He's what many would describe as a troubled genius. One time, he believed the CIA were following him. Everywhere he'd go, he would see men in suits surrounding him. Out of fear, he drove hundreds of miles without any destination. But he couldn't escape them. On the radio, he heard people talking to him, describing what he was doing, so he destroyed it. He threw his keys in the desert, and after that, just walked aimlessly along the highway, until the police found him and stopped him.
It's fucked up when your mind is playing tricks on you.
Terry hates the police, constantly going on rants about killing the CIA.
The CIA is your game, glow in the dark. You can see them if you're driving. You just run them over. That's what you do. Fucking CIA is your game.
He's where we get the term glowy from today. But while suffering from the constant fear of the CIA and isolating himself from most of society, Terry was able to build something so impressive. What compelled him to make something like this? Terry wasn't always a devout Christian. However, in 1996, he changed. In 1996, I offhandedly decided to give a few dollars to charity for the blind. I was an atheist from 1990 to 1996 and gave nothing to charity. Perhaps that act caused God to reveal himself to me and saved me. Terry's estimated to have given $10,000 to multiple charities, despite his financial condition. And it worked. God revealed himself to Terry, telling him to build the third temple, TempleOS, as a way to communicate with the higher power. God told him to stick to 16 colors, so he did. God told him to stick to 640 by 480, so he did. For Terry, coding was sacred, and the computer was a way to find out how to live as God instructed. And he did it. Online, Terry has somewhat of a cult following. To many, he was another jester of the internet, an entertaining person that couldn't stop live streaming himself and going on long Reddit rants. However, among the more technologically inclined, he was seen as beyond that, an eccentric genius.
An idiot admires complexity. A genius admires simplicity. A physicist tries to make it simple. An idiot, anything the more complicated it is, the more he will admire it. If you make something so clusterfucked he can't understand it, he's gonna think you're a god, because you made it so complicated nobody can understand it.
In his own world, Terry was king, and everyone else was ignorant.
Everybody else is a zombie. I'm the only one who thinks with an open mind. Everyone else an idiot. Everyone else, their mind is being controlled by the CIA. Not a single original thinker. You all think the same.
Terry posts a lot online, but at first, no one really listened to him. They just thought he was spamming his own terrible operating system. But Terry had faith in what he had created, and he had faith that it was in God's plan to be made. Terry had dedicated so much of his life to TempleOS that he became homeless, living out in a van and coding. With his master's degree, he could have easily gotten a job at a high-level tech company, but he didn't, because of his belief. You might ask why I care so much about a terrible operating system made by someone you could call crazy. I'd say it's the moments where he's lucid. There's a certain somberness to watching Terry be completely lucid whilst he writes code. His words are so profound whilst focusing in on the new features for TempleOS. It makes you wonder how he could be without the dark cloud of his mental illness looming over him.
What's reality? I don't know. When my bird was looking at my computer monitor, I thought, whoa, that bird has no idea what he's looking at. And yet, what does the bird do? Does he panic? No, he can't really panic. He just does the best he can. Is he able to live in a world where he's so ignorant? Well, he doesn't really have a choice. Yeah, he can kind of live. Usually the bird's okay, even though he doesn't understand the world. And he can kind of learn what's safe and what's dangerous. You're that bird looking at the monitor, and you're thinking to yourself, I can figure this out. And you know, maybe you have some bird ideas. Maybe that's the best you can do.
It's easy to ridicule Terry, make fun of his operating system, how bad it runs, or its garish appearance. But in Terry's mind, he believes the opposite. What people are going to read is, it's about a schizophrenic who made a crappy operating system. My perspective is, God said, I made his temple. In 2018, Terry passed away. It's unknown if his death was a suicide or an accident, but either way, he deserves a spot in heaven, and he doesn't deserve the ridicule that the internet has given him. In his own world, he was king.
I tried to be king. They wouldn't let me. And so now I don't have any obligation to worry, because like I already did my part, you know. Like you gotta ask yourself, you know, did I fulfill my responsibility in the eyes of God? And I did. You know, I made sincere effort. Like it seems like you have some responsibility. So basically, all empires have to rise and fall, and that's the way God wants it.
So, well, it's good to be king. Wait, maybe. I think maybe I'm just like a little bizarre little person who walks back and forth. Whatever, you know. But
Real gamers use TempleOS. Rip Terry. Rest in peace. Sleep well, my brother. Fly high.